I think sometimes when you're young, you don't necessarily want to do some of those things, or you sweep stuff under the rug. But now, being a veteran like I am, anything that I need to deal with it, I deal with it, and I try to deal with it immediately. I try to be honest and upfront. I do it with tact and love and compassion, but I think that's something I've gotten better at.
Welcome back to First Down presented by Coach Tools. I'm your host, Justin Tichinell. Please feel free to leave this a 5-star review. It's super helpful for us as we continue to grow the podcast. And also be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. We have tons of amazing guests scheduled out and already have over 100 episodes recorded. So we're super excited about our growth. Today's special guest featured Joe Bushman, the head football coach at Lewis and Clark University. Coach Bushman is headed into his 6th season at Lewis and Clark, and in 2023, he led the Pioneers to a 4-3 conference record for just the second time in 32 years. So I hope you enjoy today, and let's dive right in.
I've pretty much been a high school football coach in the Portland area for 20 years. Coached at some great high schools, Central Catholic High School, Lake Ridge High School, and then I spent my last 12 years at Clackamas, and we were fortunate to have a really nice run my last few years, which culminated in a state championship in 2017. My son was a senior. He was graduating, and my wife was looking to get me out of the house. And so she's like, if you ever want to go for college, now's the time to do it. And so about that time, Coach Losi, who was the head coach here, fantastic man and mentor. He actually had won a national championship at Division III with Linfield University, and then went on to coach at Oregon State, and then had come back to kind of resurrect the Lewis and Clark program. He asked me to come up and be his offensive coordinator. Told me he had a couple more years he wanted to go, and then hopefully pass it over to me. And so I came and worked for him with 2 years, and kind of reacquainted myself with the college game. And 2 years ago, the job opened, and I applied, and here I am. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell, Justin.
Very cool. And I was looking on your website, Coach, and I noticed that you have 150 wins as a high school head coach, 2017 6A state championship. So can you talk about how your success as a high school head coach has propelled you to be a successful Division III head coach?
Yeah, coaching kids is coaching kids. It doesn't matter if they're a third grade youth player to a 23-year-old senior in college. Kids are kids, and a lot of the same recipe for success to me works at all levels. So I was never really intimidated by moving up a level. I just figured that I'd kind of do what I had done at the high school level, and obviously had to learn some of the ins and outs as far as processes go. But for the most part, took the same approach. I've most of really all of the jobs I've taken over, head jobs, have been at programs that have been a little bit down and needed to be resurrected somewhat, and but jobs that had potential. So that's kind of what I like to do. I like to come to a place that maybe has some room to grow, and just throw myself into it. And we're kind of in a build right now. When I took over for Jay had done a great job kind of pulling the program off the mat. They were not winning any games, and he got it to the point where they were starting to experience some success and getting a couple wins a year. And then last year we actually had the best season at Lewis and Clark for the last 12 years. We ended up 5-5 and 4-3 in league. So we're not where we want to be. We're not where we were at Clackamas High School, but we're definitely the program that is improving and getting better every year, and hopefully at some point can really punch with the big boys in our league.
Definitely. And can you tell me more about Lewis and Clark and what it's like being in Division III atmosphere?
Yeah, this place is unique. It's in a couple different ways. For one, it's a very high academic school, and so we're not quite an Ivy League school, but we're kind of that next tier. One of the best academic schools on the West Coast. So It's more of a challenge to recruit here, as we just can't get. You kind of have to have a 3.5 and above really to really get in here, But the positive is the kids that we do get in tend to be smart kids, very driven, and fun to work with. They tend to fall into that category of being good teammates and just being good character kids. So it's unique that way. It's also unique that we're in a big city. We're in Portland. Portland is a great town. I've grown up here really my whole life. It took a hit a few years ago. Still tough at times with homeless population and whatnot. But as far as being a fun place for kids to go to college, you get the best of both worlds because you're up in this kind of secluded forest going to school. We're 10 minutes from downtown Portland, but then you just jump in a car, jump in a shuttle, and boy, you're downtown and it's fun. There's lots of good places to eat and food carts and entertainment. So it's a good draw. It's just a little bit more challenging to get kids here than it would be at some of our competitors.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Coach Tools, the football player grading tool for coaches that's better and faster. Learn how to save time and increase your efficiency as a football coach at CoachToolsLLC.com.
And I can definitely appreciate the high academic Division III coming from Gettysburg College. So totally hear what you're saying, and having conversations with those coaches too. They run into the same situation. They're high academic kids, and it's tough to get just anybody in there. You have to be a great student, and there's definitely certain standards to play Division III football.
Yeah, agreed.
So having coached for the amount of time that you have now, what advice would you give yourself if you had to go back in time and maybe see yourself when you were just getting started off?
That is a great question. I think one of the things I've done better as I've gotten older is just really being honest and transparent with just about everything I do. The willingness to have some difficult conversations, the courage to have those conversations and do them in the right way. I think sometimes when you're young, you don't necessarily want to do some of those things, or you sweep stuff under the rug. But now, being a veteran like I am, anything that I need to deal with it, I deal with it, and I try to deal with it immediately. I try to be honest and upfront. I do it with tact and love and compassion, but I think that's something I've gotten better at. I think another thing for a young coach is to find people who are really good at what they do to work for you, and play to their strengths. If they're really good at a certain area, provide them with the support they need. I still keep my thumb on people. I know what's going on, but I also try to not micromanage. I try to let people really fly and be really good at what they're passionate about, and not try to necessarily control them so much, or try to fit them into a certain way I want things done. I try to let them kind of blossom in that role. So I think those would be two areas that, if I could go back and tell myself to do that earlier, I would have.
Awesome. I love it.
Sense, Justin?
I love it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. So any last words, Coach, you would want to share with the audience?
No, I just think Lewis and Clark, we got a great thing going here. I think way too many times kids right now are very obsessed, worried about what level of football they're playing, and boy, I'll tell you, man, if you can go to a small college and get a great education and continue to get to play the game you love and make great friends and a brotherhood, I'm sure that you had that, Justin, where you were playing. It's special, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think too many times kids, when they're trying to figure out where to go, they're all just thinking about, where can I play football and what's the highest level I can play at, instead of, where's the spot that's the best fit for me? I'm probably not going to be a professional football player, but where can I go and get that education and tee myself up for the rest of my life and continue to play football in a quality program, man. That's a good way to spend your late teens, early 20s. And I think too many times kids start chasing things and then they're always like, well, what's the better, the whole transfer portal, that's a whole topic for another day. But I think that's really lent itself to kids just kind of getting in their own head sometimes.
For sure. No, and I can totally attest to that. Being a Division III athlete myself, everything that I learned as a student athlete, I've taken with me into my career, and I'm only less than 3 years out of college, and it's something that I really value, and I believe for any of the athletes watching out there, you should definitely not limit yourself to potentially play at a smaller college because the value in that education is really second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a dude, you get to play, man. Isn't that why you're playing? I always
Yes,
think
sir.
so. I would have wanted to go to a bigger school and sit there and be a scout team guy for 4 years. That doesn't sound very appealing to me, but
Right.
yeah, but we've got a good thing going. And what's cool is when our kids graduate, man, they go launch. We have two kids that are going to medical school next year. We have another two that are getting their MBAs. We have three kids in our program right now that are pre-law. They're all going to be really, really successful, which that is kind of the end game, right? Of going to college. So anyway,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, well, coach, greatly appreciate you being on today, and best of luck as you guys continue to hit the recruiting trail.
Yeah. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate you thinking of me.